The comprehensive DI model has been implemented successfully in a wide range of school settings with a wide variety of student populations. If your school follows the steps outlined in this online guide and implements direct instruction school-wide with the assistance of an experienced external support provider, your students will experience a marked improvement in academic performance and self-esteem. While all students experience positive changes with DI, the effects are usually more pronounced in the lower grades than in the upper grades during the first few years of implementation. Students in the lower grades are just starting school, and any gap between their performance and the national average is easier to overcome in comparison to the gap that often exists in the upper grades. This is especially true in high-poverty schools, where it's not uncommon to have large numbers of 5th grade students performing 3 years or more below grade-level expectations. The end-of-year expectation for students in direct instruction is to finish the level of the program that corresponds to their grade level. So the expectation for kindergartners is to finish the kindergarten level of the programs by the end of the school year, for first graders to finish the first grade level of the program by the end of the school year, and so on up the grade levels. For those students in the upper grades who start the year several years behind grade level expectations, reaching this benchmark by the end of 1 year or even after several years can be very challenging. If students have historically progressed at the equivalent of only half a year's growth per year, it is a great achievement for them to improve by a full year's growth per year with DI. However, this faster rate is still insufficient for them to catch up. They need to improve by more than a grade level equivalent every year, which requires a full schedule and very faithful implementation of DI.
The best way to improve the performance of a school system in the long run is to use direct instruction as a prevention to failure by accelerating student performance from the earliest grade and then maintaining the performance of cohorts of students as they advance through the grades. If the vast majority of kindergarten students reach grade level expectations by the end of the school year, they will be in a strong position to reach grade level expectations by the end of first grade and then the end of second grade, third grade, etc. This requires great patience and perseverance. The school must maintain the DI implementation for a number of years as the cohorts of students who receive DI work their way up the grades. The maximum effect doesn't occur until students who receive DI in kindergarten reach the upper grades. In fact, it usually takes a couple of years for kindergarten teachers to get comfortable with the DI approach. So the third or fourth group to start as kindergartners is the cohort that generates the peak performance as it goes through the grades. Realistically, then, it can take 8 or more years after DI is introduced for the maximum effect of the DI implementation to be reached at 5th grade, and 11 or more years for it to be reached at 8th grade, and 15 or more years for it to be reached at 12th grade. Several factors can erode the implementation of direct instruction over time and prevent students from reaching their maximum performance. The first is a high turnover of teachers who are not properly prepared for the DI implementation. It is important to make sure all new teachers receive a thorough training in the DI methodology, that they understand the rationale behind the DI approach, and that they receive in-class coaching by experts in DI. Have them visit a model direct instruction school to see the full DI model in action. The second factor is a lack of local capacity at the building and the district level. Outside coaching expertise, although critical for ensuring fidelity of implementation, is not sufficient to provide proper support to all teachers and paraprofessionals over the years, especially if there is a high turnover of staff. Local coaching capacity is needed to achieve and maintain high performance. To properly prepare all teaching staff for implementing DI effectively, building coordinators and peer coaches should receive training in all 4 levels of coaches training. The third factor is pressure to dilute the program in the upper grades because students are still behind after a couple of years of implementation. Outside observers often make the mistake of thinking that the DI approach works well at the primary grades, but not so well at the upper grades. Nothing could be further from the truth. As I've already mentioned, it takes several years for the peak performance to be observed at the upper grades as the cohorts of students who started DI as kindergartners reach the upper grades. If the program is implemented with fidelity, student scores will improve dramatically over time as cohorts of younger students work their way up the grades with direct instruction.